Wow, what can you say about this Rajasthan Royals side in 2022? They look like a serious juggernaut now, hard to stop. They've already been responsible for the highest score in this year's IPL. They are now responsible for defending the lowest score successfully in this year's tournament. RCB have gone down by 29. Significant margin, you think, when we thought this would be a comfortable chase at halftime on Maruti Suzuki Presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Timeout, powered by IQ 95G. Ian Bishop, first up, Dan Vettori. To just look back at that, that's a clinical, convincing win from a team that seems sky high on confidence, Dan.
It's one of those performances that people start talking about Rajasthan as the favourites for the IPL. I think it may be a touch early, but that is a great performance because it wasn't their usual style. It wasn't Butler slamming runs. It wasn't Chahal running through a team. It was just a performance from some players that we don't always talk about. Rian Parag and then Sen coming back into the team. They did a fantastic job. So I think when you get performance like that away from your superstars, that's when the real belief comes in the side.
Yeah, wow, it's strong words, Bish, but you can see where Dan's coming from. Butler in single-digit scores, Chahal without a wicket, and they've managed to win by 29.
Yeah, the batting, Rian Parag, as you said, we're happy for him. He gave them something to work with, but a lot of credit to I suppose those two uncapped, is that what we call them, two uncapped players who've won this game for Rajasthan. Kuldeep Sen, he had 2 games, he got dropped, he came back in and bowled with pace and hostility tonight. So excellent in the face, as you said, of the usual suspects not firing with the bat.
Yeah, you think that over, that double wicket over, Bish, from Kuldeep Sen to first get Faf and then Maxwell, that seriously changed momentum, you think? Just take me through that over and what made Kuldeep Sen effective today. Did it seem like a selection for these conditions, as Sanju Samson was trying to point out at the toss?
Yeah, well, there's pace. I think with himself, Motion Khan that we saw yesterday, there's a lot to work with. He's 25, I think Motion is earlier 20s, 22 or 23. So we're seeing some young Indian seamers, in addition to the other guys like Praseed Krishna, who's been there, who's played international cricket already, Umran Malik. We're seeing guys who can hit the pitch hard, who are getting better with opportunities given to them. And just to generate the type of pace that he did against Maxwell and, of course, against Faf, it was brilliant to see.
Has he surprised Faf and Maxwell almost with the way he's bowled?
Probably Maxwell. I think just the extra bit of pace, and Maxwell threw his hands at it. It's probably one of those balls that actually can get very good batsmen out because they're a little bit indecisive. They don't want to be aggressive to a ball that's far outside off stump. But I think it was the pace. And I think that was probably the wicket that led Rajasthan to believe that they actually had a chance because that power play set up or handed it off over to Ashwin, who bowled exceptionally well as well. We've sort of forgotten about him with 3 for 17, and then Chahal at the back end. And that seemed like a plan. He didn't come on until the 11th over, I think. So that meant that their seamers didn't have to feel the pressure of bowling to the death. And albeit that they did come back, but in conditions when a team's 8 or 9 down, that's the dream time to bowl death bowling.
Absolutely. He didn't seem like a player who would be short on confidence, Kuldeep Sen, for having been dropped after one bad game, which effectively is what he was. Came back in and had no runs to play with or below par score to play with.
Yeah, I think you could just bowl. I think sometimes when you take expectations away, it allows those young bowlers just to come in and bowl. And potentially he's that person anyway, that he can just turn up and try and hit a length. But to get Faf out, obviously, and then Maxwell, then you can't ask for a better start. So the confidence grows from there.
Yeah, I mean, Bish, it would have been an important over, I guess, if he somehow goes for 12, 14, 15. RCB seem good. Maybe it's one-way traffic. What does that tell you?
Look, if I had to do this all over again, I couldn't see this coming from RCB. 2 bad games, 2 such bad batting games as well. Credit to Rajasthan's bowlers, right? But I couldn't see this coming twice in a row. Let me put that out there. And they have some serious issues to deal with. As I said before, Virat, I'm happy to see him at the top. But if RCB had to go deep into this year's IPL, he has to get run. So going back to Kuldeep, the guys asked me a question the other night when we were on air with regards to Umran Malik, and they were saying, Kevin and Matthew were pointing out from their perspective, a guy running in and the ball is going everywhere is harder for them to face because of the unpredictability. My thing is, no, I'm looking at this from bowler's point of view. I want Kuldeep and Umran to perfect their craft. The captain must know when he asks Kuldeep to run up and hit a hard length off stump or a hard length middle stump or a fuller length, that he's able to deliver that with the type of pace that he has. And that's the development we're seeing in Umran Malik and what we saw a little bit from Kuldeep tonight. Straight lines, hard into the pitch, decent enough control at pace.
Okay, let's take the conversation forward to what Ian Bishop pointed out now. Which, if you're talking about RCB in batting, that one bad game, is this a more painful loss, not being able to chase 145 than being bundled out for 69?
Yeah, you've hit the nail there. This worries me a lot more because I'm still not seeing Virat getting the runs that he needs to get for this team to prosper. And that middle order, if Maxwell doesn't fire, and you can go at Maxwell with hard pace and good pace if you have it within your armory, it is a real concern, this one, because it's come off the back. The guys were saying RCB have one bad game a year, and that last game was it. Well, this is, if you can't chase 144, you've got issues.
This would hurt more if you're in that RCB camp now?
I think so, because it doesn't reward a good bowling performance. And so when you bowled out for 69, it's irrelevant what you do as a bowling unit. But the RCB bowling unit stood up tonight, and I thought they were fantastic. I thought Faf led them exceptionally well. They were very disciplined and planned, and so to hand it over to the batters and to get a performance like that, that's the performance that really hurts a team. So now they have to go through the process again of talking about their batting, how they're going to improve, where you've got a bowling unit who's probably feeling pretty good about themselves, particularly that front four that we talked about before the start. So maybe they have to pick up pieces again and see if the batting can come along with them.
Almost similarly, if you get a first ball duck and you play 10 balls like that from Virat Kohli, does this innings tell you more than perhaps the previous two about what sort of touch he's in?
I think you have to acknowledge that this is a time when you have to, I suppose, go inwards and find out exactly what's going through your mind and try and work through it. I think Chris Lynn was on a couple of nights ago and said you just got to be all out aggressive, and I think that potentially is the play, because it still looks like he's feeling for an innings, feeling for a performance. RCB and I suppose Faf and Maxwell need him to take the lead and take a little bit of pressure off them and just be as aggressive as possible.
So if you have to just explain to me what that is in Kohli's current state of mind and form, what does all out aggressive mean? So
I think
step out to tread.
Yeah, I think it's step out. I think that's where he can take momentum. He's very good at that. It's a shot that he plays well. He can carve through the offside, and therefore he's putting pressure back on the bowler. The bowler has to think, the bowler has to make decisions. At the moment, the bowler's just trying to put it in a spot and let him make a mistake. I think he's just got to take the game to the bowler.
Bish, anything to add on that, especially perhaps the manner of the dismissal, which also I guess can tell you something?
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm going to have to acquiesce to Dan on that. My coaching expertise is not good enough to break down such a great play. I was trying to think back tonight to when I saw a batter go through a phenomenal period of scoring, run scoring, as Virat has for such a long time, and then to transition. And I was thinking back to Rahul Dravid. Rahul Dravid had about 3 or 4 years late in his career where in test match cricket, a different format totally, he was phenomenal, averaged 57. The year before, he called it a day, because the year after averaging 57, he had a few bad test matches. His stumps were being knocked over. So I really couldn't understand that sort of transition. And I don't know what the answer is, to be honest. I was thinking, as Ravi Shastri said, maybe giving him a break, but it's the middle of an important IPL season. I don't see how that is possible.
Well, I think that comment, I'm not sure if it was made while they still managed to get wins or not, but is that break now out of question because they've lost a couple or two? They lost a couple of games now.
I just don't think it was in play from the start. I think once you're in the IPL setup, and there's obviously small quarantine requirements as well. So I still believe, and I'm sure he does, and the whole of RCB, that he'll come out of this. It's just what manner is he going to get out of it? And if RCB can scrape through the semi-finals, then there's no reason why he can't be the person who takes them to the title. So it's a lot of chat for us. It's easy for us to talk about, but I'm sure they're comfortable moving on with with him, obviously moving with him, and an expectation that he'll perform.
Are you also getting a sense, Bish, just as a bowler, that intimidation factor is almost completely gone from bowling to Virat Kohli? You don't even need to bowl your best ball now, and he's finding ways to get out. Is that in any way going to make life harder for him going forward?
Is he going to be like Tiger Woods once he got emasculated and then his peers and his opponents didn't fear him? No, I don't know that I'll go that far. I think bowlers are still running up thinking, I have to bowl my best to Virat Kohli and keep that pressure on him. I don't know if he comes out or when he comes out on the other side. He'll come out on the other side, Virat, but I still think for now, all bowlers are thinking, I still need to be at my best because he's not just going to hand me his wicket. He's finding ways to get out, but he's not going to hand it over easily.
Okay. We will have enough occasion to discuss Virat Kohli. Still lots of games to come in the IPL, but for now, we still look for that innings that sets Kohli off or reminds us of the invincible Kohli of a few years back. Anyway, there were many more moments, and RCB have won games in spite of their top order failing. One of these games was the reverse fixture. So let's just get Dan Vettori and Ian Bishop's thoughts on what they made of Dinesh Karthik's wicket. There are many things that Bish has described in commentary in his glorious career. How would you have described that, those 5 seconds of top quality play, Bish?
What, with the run out? Because you're saying top quality. So, you're being facetious. No, Dinesh gave up the ghost. And of course, Chahal, he had an opportunity for a run out had he been near to the stumps and had they thrown to him, which neither happened. And then it was a really poor acceptance of that throw there. And he's very fortunate that he was able to gather himself, gather the ball, and run out Dinesh Karthik, who had given up the ghost. Unfortunately, he should have been pushing harder to get back. But it was quite a curious moment.
Yeah, he's put it well, Bish, hasn't he? As politely. What was your reaction when you saw that?
I wasn't surprised Chahal dropped it. That's the starting point. DK should have known that.
DK's probably giving him more credit. Just a moment of clumsiness?
Calamity of errors, and fortunately, Rajasthan came out on the right side of it because we still know that DK could have brought them home.
Is it fair to say, even after all these years, and even though Dinesh Karthik's having his best season, he's most vulnerable to the run out when he comes in? Either he or the guy with him.
There's players that have been like that for the history of cricket. They just never seem to improve their running, and DK. And you can tell DK's sort of in a rush in those first 10 balls to get things going, to be busy, and he wants to take his partner along for the ride. And sometimes the partner's not on the same wavelength. And I'm not sure. I don't actually think it was his fault
in this particular
occasion. It was his fault that he didn't show the energy to get back into the crease. But I think Shabazz, was at the other end. Yes. I think he sold him a dummy.
Yeah, I mean, you just saw that one lovely sweep shot, Bish, that he played, and you thought, oh, could this be DK's night again? But on this particular occasion, fault more with the striker and that comedy of errors? Because that was a big moment, DK being run out early.
Yeah, it was, but I think
you think it's done. No, you don't think it was. Come on, Bish. You don't need to be nice. Yeah.
What? No, I'm not being nice. To me, it's it's irrelevant trying to cast blame right now on whose fault it was at that point in time. The important thing, with all due respect, is this batting unit has to be better than this. The real top order problems. I mean, Dinesh Karthik, batting in the hole that he has done well for most of the season apart from the last 2 knocks. He'll come good again because he's in good form. The real focus and the concentration is at the top of the order. RCB can't continue kicking through the season, not being able to depend on the top 3.
Yep, fair point that. Before we wrap up, one player had a big imprint on this game, R. Ashwin, 3 wickets for him. Not to mention, batting at number 3, strike rate of over 180. You pay good money for that kind of player in auction, wouldn't you, Dan?
Absolutely, get him in. I think we spoke a lot about it. Ashwin the batter. I think we owe him. We owe him the service to talk about him as a bowler. I mean, he was as advertised. He used all his variations. He went to the ball that he flicked out the front to the right-handers. He was just a bit too good for the domestic Indian batter, and he just did what he wants to do every time. And I think he just puts batsmen on notice around. You can't expect the ball that you think's coming because I'm going to do something different. And his execution in his areas, and yeah, it was just a perfect spell of his style of bowling in T20 cricket.
Yeah, I mean, it continues to impress as a bowling unit, Bish, doesn't it? Because it's one thing that at RCB are now being questioned as a batting unit if they fail to get this. But if there was a bowling unit that could defend a below par score, it's Rajasthan. Everyone did their job. Not one bowler released the pressure. Ashwin, excellent today, wasn't he?
Yeah, and when he came on to bowl, one of the things that we've been seeing, and Dan knows as well as anyone else, you're facing what is, I suppose, typically an off spinner. And I could see someone like a Faf trying to go and trying to hit with the spin. That would be my first inclination watching top order players. But he's got this one that has back spin on it. He's got the carom ball that goes the other way. He's jumping wide of the crease. So he's not giving a batter any real chance to settle. So even if he's not getting wickets, he's still asking so many different questions that are not obvious, and he's being very hard to get away. And of course, that partnership with Yuzvendra Chahal, absolutely superb watching them bowl. And this is coming from a fast bowler, enjoying watching spinners bowl in any cricket game.
All right. Well done to the Rajasthan Royals then. Points table will reflect for this win, this clinical win with different actors coming to the centre of the stage, that they are now top of the points table. Gujarat Titans have the opportunity to reclaim that when they play the Sunrisers Hyderabad. What a mouth-watering prospect that one is. 2v3 tomorrow in the IPL. RCB's net run rate will take a bit of a hit as well as a result of that big 68 all out and today's game. So they are now negative 0.550, and that's the lowest run rate in the top 6. And they also, in fact, top 7. And they also now have 9 games and 10 points as against all the others in the top 4 that have a few more games in hand. Are you worried about RCB's chances after these 2 games? We did a run order a couple of days back and you said you're still backing them to make the top 4. Are you worried about these 2 games now?
I mean, there's slight concerns around their batting, but I think they have the sort of players that can bounce quickly out of it, and particularly in terms of Maxwell, and he could put together a match-winning performance. The thing that will hold them in good stead is their bowling, and I think they have 4 frontline bowlers who can get the job done in every single T20 game. So they'll rely on them, but I think they're good enough to get them into the semis.
I mean, I'm just looking at their remaining fixtures. They play Gujarat Titans twice, they play Sunrisers once, and Punjab and Chennai. So it's not necessarily an easy set of fixtures. Bish, would you be worried for RCB's chances after these 2 games or not yet?
As a closet RCB fan for many years, I'm concerned. I have a few concerns, honestly, because I'm seeing some guys who I expect to be scoring, not from a bowling perspective, but from a batting perspective, and I'm concerned as to how they're going to get out of it. So yeah, I'm concerned.
Okay. How many years, Bish, if I could just ask, have you been a closet RCB fan? Since Dan was there?
I've said this publicly before, so this is not the first time viewers will be hearing this. Going back to the days, what did they used to call Gale and De Villiers and Kohli?
Well, weren't they in your team in 2011? Yeah, the final that you captained?
Yes.
Yeah, they were all there.
That was a good year.
That was a good year.
Oh yeah, that was De Villiers was there. I was saying.
Yeah.
Since that
I appreciate
far
that,
back.
Bish. Thank you.
The Galacticos.
The
Yeah,
Galacticos.
the Galacticos. So yes,
okay.
you've got a fan here.
Was he one of them? Was he one of them? No.
I was the 8th Galactico.
All right, before we wrap things up with Bish and Dan, it's been great fun this. Terrific game again, at least plenty of talking points, even if it was one of those highest scorers that we've had in the last few days. Let's look at the Maruti Suzuki Driving School poll of the day, shall we? Who do you think is going to score the most runs in the Bangalore-Rajasthan game is the question that we asked. And if you did go for a Riyan Parag, you would have done well. But that would be in the others category. A lot of you went for Josh Butler. Bish called it. Law of averages would catch up. All he got was 8. That doesn't make him any less of a threat going forward. If anything, makes him more. That was the Maruti Suzuki Driving School poll of the day. One more thing before we leave you with. It's time to introduce you for the first time to the ICO ESPN Cricinfo Biggest Fan Challenge. It's your chance to be on ESPN Cricinfo's live coverage. Just answer the following in 6 words or less. Kohli is to Bengaluru as ... So just finish that up. Kohli to Bengaluru is like ... I'm going to ask Dan and Bish perhaps to complete that too. Just follow it on our social posts and you could stand a chance to feature on ESPN Cricinfo, part of the ICO ESPN Cricinfo Biggest Fan Challenge. Kohli is to Bangalore. Dan, come on.
I'm not good at these things.
No? You're not good at these things?
You're good at these things. You tell us.
Oh, you need to be a good broadcaster for this. So let me go to Ian Bishop. Kohli to Bangalore is like, come on, 6 words or less.
Now I'm just going to say one, the linchpin.
Okay.
He's centerpiece. He holds it together. Linchpin.
All right, yeah. Kohli to Mr. Bangalore, like Ian Bishop is to commentary. Or like Dan
Oh, yeah.
Vettori is to the Galacticos. You could go either way with that. Lots of variety. Anyway, thank you very much, Bish. Always a pleasure. Thank you to Dan Vettori too. More
You
from
too,
them as the
guys.
IPL continues to roll on. Thanks for watching. Maruti Suzuki presents ESPN Cricket Info T20 Timeout, powered by IQ 95G. Good night.